we have mutual friends, which were at the end of the credits, the Edlings, and they're actually family friends of mine. My sister's brother-in-law, his brother, were skydivers, and they were actually roommates with Micah, and so I kind of knew of Micah through my sister and her husband through the years, and they would share stories through that family. But it wasn't until Shayni was ready to maybe start sharing her story after Micah's passing that the Edlings introduced us to each other. And I had been wanting to do a story on skydiving and base jumping for years, just didn't have the right avenue and the right story to do that. And it wasn't until Shayni and I were connected that I felt like this was the right way to tell a story within that community. And so they put us in touch, and Shayni and I emailed for months before we actually started filming together. And I was researching the sport, and Shayni was sending me clips of Micah off and on through those months. And we just kind of had a conversation for a while. And then Shayni said, I'm going to go to Norway to spread Micah's ashes. Would you want to come and join me? And that was before Shayni agreed to be filmed. And I was like, of course I'll go. And it was there in Norway that we decided that we'll start filming and just see how it goes. And we were Shayni was very involved throughout the whole process as far as sending footage and the conversation through editing, and that's kind of how it happened.
Thank you. For you, that was a year after the accident, that the trip to Norway, to schedule it.
Roughly
a year. So at what point was it for you the idea or the will to tell the story in a film?
It happened quite organically, and thanks to Gabe and his ability to be so kind and respectful, and he always gave me space and always asked if it was okay, and I guess I felt comfortable talking to him, and so it wasn't really okay, I'm going to make this decision now. It was more a natural, organic path that we both kind of took together, sort of step by step and very slowly. And so for me, I didn't at any point just feel like, okay, we're gonna make a film. It was more it just sort of happened naturally.
You were both such passionate people living life to the fullest. And since the accident and what happened, has it changed the way you are approaching pushing the edge, or living the life to the fullest? Are you more cautious or more mindful of things that you do now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and I get asked it a lot. I think more so becoming a parent makes you that way as well. And for me, it did change my perspective on some things, and everybody's always changing, so that's a normal part of life. And I still skydive, I still fly, but I chose to take a step back from base jumping. And for me, it was just, the risk versus reward wasn't there anymore. But one of the reasons I went back to Norway was to revisit my passion for it and why we loved it so much. And that was part of my, my grief journey of forgiveness and just making peace with that a little bit. So yeah, I mean, of course it changes you, but I would not say that I haven't stopped living life to the fullest. You can do many other things than jumping from cliffs to have a good time. So I would say I find a lot of enjoyment, a lot of adventure, and a lot of other things as well. So.
And you touched in the film about your life with Lincoln, and the moves and the changes. Can you tell us an update on where you are, the two of you now, and are you living here in New Zealand, or what's happening with the two of you?
I'm not living in New Zealand at the moment. Actually, I'm living in Washington State, very close to where some of this was filmed. And it's somewhere that Micah and I had visited before he passed away. And I remember we walked into the skydiving operation there, and there was just like parachutes and people skydiving and kids running around everywhere. And it's this really family oriented drop zone and just so fun. And Micah turned to me and he said, "This is where I want to raise our kids." And I never made the conscious choice to move back there. It just, I don't know, maybe subconsciously that happened. But I actually live 6 minutes from there now. So that's where I've decided to be somewhat stationary for now.
And Gabriel, the filming has been happening quite a few years. So tell us about that process. Why, or how did you reach the end of making the film and having the premiere now? What was the process like for that?
The film started as more of a story about Micah, actually, and it started as a found footage archival film. And Shayni was sending me footage of Micah, and I was doing my own research of Micah's story, and it was actually called Micah in the Sky at one point. But into that process, and just talking more with Shayni, I realized that it might need to change and be more from her point of view, especially with Lincoln in the picture. And so I decided to switch gears and propose to Shayni that maybe I bring my camera and we try that out and see how that goes. And that was a lot of the Norway footage. And then we continued that process for about 2 years, off and on, a month here, a week there. I spent some time in Washington, and that's where I met Lincoln. And it was around that time that I thought, this is the right thing. This is the story here. And then kind of took a break during COVID, and then started editing it a little bit after. So the whole process was about 5 years. And then when I finished it, it was purely, I just was happy to give a gift to Shayni and her family, especially because of our shared connection with some of my family, and was just thankful to do that. But then when I started thinking about how do we release this or how do we bring this into the world, I just cold submitted to Doc Edge. I did a little research on the festival, and I thought, well, this could be perfect. Shayni's home country, this makes sense, this could be the way to do it. And then when you contacted me and had such kind words and asked if we would world premiere here, I said, of course. And that just felt like the right thing to do. And that just made so much sense. I was like, okay, this is how we get it out there beyond just like a gift to the couch and Shayni's family. And especially with Doc Edge's commitment to independent film, it just felt right. So the stars aligned.
Thank you. And Shayni, this is such a beautiful tribute to Micah. I can imagine how hard it is to watch it on the big screen now that the film is finished. Can you tell us a bit about that? Your reaction to watching it, and what would you like people, the audience, to take, other than getting to know Micah, which is amazing, what else would you like us to take watching this film?
For me, it's difficult because it's me up there. So my favorite parts of the film are Micah and Lincoln. And it's really hard to see yourself in that light and be so vulnerable and for it to be like that. But that's coming from my, me being shy or me not wanting my face on that giant screen. But it's not all about me, and I really felt that maybe it would resonate with other people who were going through that, not just about the grief side of things and going through that, but also about how you live your life and how you continue to grow and evolve and find ways that make you happy, and you do the things that you want to be doing, and also just like motherhood in general. But I do feel like if it can help at least even just one person, I think that's amazing.
Thank you.